Over the years, wristwatches have gone on quite the journey in terms of size. From delicate jewelry pieces to rugged military tools to oversized wrist statements, and now back to more balanced, vintage-inspired proportions. Today we're going to be tracing that evolution and taking a look at the historical moments as well as some of the iconic watches that have shaped what we define as the right size on the wrist. At the turn of the century, wristwatches were mostly considered ladies' jewelry. Men still carried pocket watches, which were seen as more serious and masculine, but right before World War I, that all changed. Soldiers needed quick and hands-free access to the time, so they started strapping modified pocket watches to their wrists using wire lugs and leather straps. These early military trench watches were around 32 to 34 millimeters, which is tiny by today's standards, but revolutionary for practicality. Meanwhile, the women's pieces of the time often stayed within the 26 to 30 millimeter range. One of the most important early wristwatches was the Cartier Santos, designed in 1904 for aviator Alberto Santos Dumont. Along with the trench watches of the time, this showed that watches could be functional and not just decorative. And this is really when the acceptability of men wearing wristwatches was born, not through fashion, but through necessity. Now in the Roaring '20s, design was all about Art Deco, geometry, symmetry, and ornamentation. Watches followed suit with tonneau and rectangular cases, engraved gold sides, and bold numerals. Pieces like my own Hamilton Perry from 1929 define this era, bringing the Art Deco style to American watchmaking. But by the 1940s, World War II shifted priorities again. Watches became standard military tools, tough, legible, and uniform. The U.S. military's A-11 field watches made by Hamilton, Elgin, and Waltham were around 32 to 33 millimeters and stripped of all ornamentation for pure function. So this era actually had a fascinating duality: elegant Art Deco styling during peacetime and stripped down utility for wartime. However, in both cases, watches stayed relatively small, ranging from 30 to 35 millimeters. After World War II, global exploration, diving, aviation, as well as motorsports pushed watches into a whole new territory. This was the birth of the tool watch. Dress watches of the time stayed between 34 to 36 millimeters, but some specialist models grew larger. The Rolex Submariner 6204 from 1953 was 38 millimeters. The Omega Speedmaster CK2915 from 1957 was 38.6 millimeters, and the Blancpain 50 Fathoms hit just at 41 millimeters, which was absolutely huge for the time. Now, this was the first era where we saw real segmentation: smaller, elegant dress watches for daily wear, and larger, purpose-built tool watches for professionals. Larger cases weren't always just a style choice, they were justified by function. Now, the 1970s changed everything. The Quartz Crisis nearly wiped out Swiss mechanical watchmaking. Suddenly, quartz watches were slimmer, cheaper, as well as more accurate. Many quartz dress watches were between 34 to 36 millimeters and were incredibly thin. Mechanical brands simply needed to fight back, and they did so with bold design. The Audemars Piguet Royal Oak Jumbo launched in 1972 at 39 millimeters, which was enormous at the time. Patek Phillipe soon followed suit in 1976 with the Nautilus 3700 at 42 millimeters. So while quartz shrank the average wristwatch, the luxury mechanical world went the opposite way, making boldness and size a statement of prestige. By the late 90s and early 2000s, big was in. This was the oversized boom, fueled by celebrity culture and fashion trends. Sylvester Stallone famously wore a Panerai in the 1990s, cementing their 44 to 47 millimeter cases in pop culture. Hublot soon followed with his 47mm Big Bang, and fashion brands like Diesel soon pushed watch sizes to a staggering 50 millimeters. For the first time, size wasn't about functionality, it was about status and statement. Wearing a huge watch simply became a way to project power and boldness. In the 2010s, collectors began rediscovering vintage watches, which naturally meant smaller case sizes. Heritage reissues became a huge trend, with brands returning to that 38 to 40 millimeter sweet spot. The Tudor Black Bay 58 at 39 millimeters became a modern classic. Omega released 38mm 1948 Seamaster reissues, and Rolex brought back the Explorer at 36 millimeters. Comfort and balance were back in style. Suddenly, small wasn't seen as outdated. It was cool again. Vintage collecting has definitely reshaped the modern idea of watch proportions. And over the last few years, this trend has only accelerated. Post-pandemic, people have leaned into comfort and subtlety. Even celebrities have begun to be spotted wearing sub 38mm pieces, really reinforcing this cultural pivot. Today, the sweet spot is 36 to 39mm. Even sports watches are shrinking, though 40 to 41mm divers are still pretty common. The Rolex Explorer at 36mm, the Cartier Tank Musk, and the Breitling Top Time at 38mm are all indicators that small watches are back in a big way. So that's the journey of wristwatches, from 30mm wrist jewelry, to military tools, to oversized fashion giants, and now back to more balanced proportions. Every shift reflects the culture of its time, and today we're living through a renaissance of wearable, vintage-inspired design. So what's your sweet spot? 36? 39? 44? Drop it in the comments, and if you enjoyed this dive into watch history, be sure to hit like and subscribe for more watch content every week. Until next time,